Joining us now from outside Haley headquarters in Daniel Island, South Carolina, is NBC News correspondent Ali Vitali, who does have some new reporting as to the sort of mindset of the Haley campaign and what they're thinking about tonight. Ali.
Look, guys, I was listening to your conversation. Yes to Joy on the foreign policy and reproductive rights angle. Yes to Nicole on the way that she presented in these rooms full of donors and the way that I think she was able to outmaneuver Chris Christie. Yes to Ari and Lawrence in their analysis of the role that she's played in this race in regards to Trump. I think the reason that she didn't go at him sooner, and she has said this, is because if she went at him from the start, then she would have been Chris Christie. And I think she first felt that she had to knock out the rest of the field before going toe-to-toe with her former boss. In terms of the new reporting that we have from just outside of her campaign headquarters, I'm told by a campaign source that the mood inside, and this might surprise you, is jubilant. And throughout the day, I have heard the phrase happy warrior from all of these folks that are either getting out the vote for Nikki Haley in these waning hours of Super Tuesday, or who are hunkered down after traveling to over 7 or 8 states in just as many days these last week and a half. They say they're playing music. A lot of this music has a certain female tint to it. Things like started from the bottom, now they are here. Sort of things that reference where she started in this race and the fact that she is now in a place where she is waiting to see how she does against Donald Trump. We know that she is in the Charleston area. I'm waiting to see if she does stop by her campaign headquarters or if instead she's watching these results from her home on Kiowa Island, which is also in this area. But I think the thing that's important is she has long said she will stay in this race for as long as she's competitive. Very vague word there, but it's also hard to define if you have or haven't been competitive as these results roll in if you're not doing anything that's going to be televised, if you're not going to be giving remarks to tell your view of how these results shook out. And I got to tell you, right now, we don't expect Haley to be giving any remarks. We don't expect to see her. And in fact, we don't have the next time we're going to see her on paper. There are no more public appearances for Nikki Haley or the Haley campaign. She did a little bit of press this morning, fine, but we're not expecting to see her in any kind of official campaign capacity. And that, of course, raises all of the questions that really loom over this entire night, which is what happens to Nikki Haley after Super Tuesday? Is there a world in which she stays in through next week in Georgia? Yeah, I could see that world. Or is there one where she says we gave enough voters the alternative, they voted in Super Tuesday, and I'm going to bow out of this race? I could see that happening, too. And then it begs the next question of what happens in regards to a Trump endorsement. And we got to leave some stuff to talk about for the rest of the night. So I'll keep reporting on that and see if we can make any inroads. But really, the idea that the mood is jubilant here, it almost gives the sense of like dancing on the deck of the Titanic almost.
Well, Ali, let me ask you to figure out what that tune is then. I mean, so you're talking about a sort of squaring a circle that doesn't make that much sense. If the campaign is not just spinning you, right? If they are jubilant, if they are playing Drake, if they are, thinking that this is meeting what she said she was going to do, which is staying competitive, then what is their explanation for why she's not speaking tonight? Why she's giving up what would be guaranteed, unfettered national airtime on one of the biggest political nights of the year? Why is she at home? No events, no planned speech tonight or even in upcoming days?
Well, she's in the Charleston area, and I think all of us have done this long enough to know that you can go from not making any remarks to making remarks really quickly if news suddenly starts going your way. So I do think that that's not something that could be out of the question, although we don't know that yet at this point. Obviously, I think that not doing remarks both takes them off the table and also leaves open the possibility that they could come back and be revived. I do think that the idea that they are jubilant and happy warriors is not new to tonight, though. I have seen over the course of the last few weeks on this campaign, as the rest of the Republican apparatus has sort of been shooing the Nikki Haley campaign out the door and saying, all right, let's go. This is Donald Trump's nomination. Time to sew this primary up. They have been very aware of that fact, and instead they have just sort of forged ahead and played the game that they came here to play. They know the odds. They know the stakes. Their campaign manager has said that to me time and again. But I think that's why they're taking the posture of, yes, they're going down with a fight, but they're also going down by trying to hold their heads high and knowing that they offered a different vision for this Republican Party. I think where Nikki Haley might not want to contend with this idea is that in this Republican Party, because she's the only person who's against Trump, she says that she's not an anti-Trump candidate, but innately, you look at the voters I meet on the ground, the ones that we've been showing on air today, they are voting for her, yes, because they're voting for her, but also because she's not Trump.
Yeah. Ali Vitali, tonight, intrepidly trying to figure out whether there might be surprise remarks, what they're thinking in terms of timing, what they're thinking in terms of maybe somewhere down the road a potential endorsement, which seems antithetical to the entire message of her mature campaign. Ali, I know you've got a lot to try to pry out of these folks, so tell them we said hi. Tell them that you're going to report it somewhere else other than with us, so they'll be more loose-tongued about it. And let us know what you find out, Ali. Thank you.
You got it.